This illustration deals with disconnecting means and branch circuit over current protection in accordance with NEC 545.24, A as in apple and B as in boy. The purpose of the change was to accept a new section. And a new section has been added to address disconnecting means and branch circuit over current protection for relocatable structures where they're relocated. Now, let's look at a illustration at the top. And it shows again we have a polar pedestal and we have a disconnecting means there that complies with 230.70 and 545.7. And this is routed from the utility transformer. And we're just showing the disconnecting means here. And notice that the feeder is routed over there, and we have the HOTS, or the ungrounded phase conductors, and we have a neutral involved and an equipment ground routed in redundant routing if that happened to be rigid or IMC. If it's PVC, then we do have the equipment ground, and it's based on the size of the fuses. For example, if we had 225 amp fuses and a 4-aught conductors run over to this building, then we would reference table 250.122 because we have overcurrent device here, fuses ahead of these conductors. So the equipment ground would be a number 4 based upon the 225 amp fuses from table 250.122 is where we would select the number 4 equipment ground. And that'd be regardless if this is metal conduit or a PVC non-metallic type conduit. And again, we know that this building can be relocated as permitted in 545.24A. And then we can define this building in 545.2. And then notice the call out to the right of the disconnect. It has to be readily accessible type panel there, see? And then the switch with fuses or circuit breaker would be there. Excuse me. Now, dropping down below and looking at the illustration below, then once again, first we have the disconnecting means. That does comply with 230.70 and 545.7 and the call out with the arrow pointing toward the disconnect. Again, this building is you can relocate it as permitted in 545.24B. And notice here we have a panel board installed in a readily accessible location that completely complies with 545.24B and 408.40. We have the feeder again with the HOTS, as some electrician calls them, but they're ungrounded phase conductors. We have a neutral conductor sized by 220.21. And we have an equipment ground that is sized from table 250.122 based upon the fuses in the disconnect. Now, if we want to ground this panel board out here in the building, or on outside the building in a readily accessible location, then notice that you do not size this grounding electrode conductor off of the size of the equipment ground. This is sized based upon the 4-aught conductors that we just told you was run over here. So that would be a number 2 from table 250.66. So that's kind of a summary of the requirement, but we're also showing you that in these panel boards, we have branch circuit overcurrent protection for the circuits supplying the outlets that's inside that building. And here we may have a fusible disconnect that feeds a panel inside the building, or it might be a panel board that you see here, or a main. So I think this kind of highlights the main provisions of this new section. But be sure to read it very carefully when you're providing a power source, such as this service located at the pole or pedestal, and routing a feeder over to the building. Review this article in this section 545.24 MB very carefully before you do that, because it's a new section and we have new rules and regulations that an electrician or designer should be aware of.